The billionaire glanced at his business partners, smirked, and switched to a foreign language, convinced the young waitress couldn't understand a single word. Without lowering his voice, he joked that she looked too ordinary to have ever traveled beyond her hometown and laughed that people like her would never belong in rooms where billion-dollar deals were made. The guests around the table smiled politely. The waitress kept pouring coffee. She never looked up. Then, in the same flawless language, she calmly corrected his grammar, answered his question, and quietly added one sentence that made the billionaire's face lose all color. "Sir, if you're discussing a confidential acquisition, you should know the gentleman behind you has understood every word you've said." The room fell completely silent. Every executive slowly turned around. The billionaire realized that the woman he had tried to embarrass had just saved him from exposing a business deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If you believe respect matters more than status, kindness is stronger than pride, and everyone deserves hope and a second chance, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional stories that remind us what truly matters. 51-year-old billionaire Richard Holloway was the founder of one of Europe's fastest-growing renewable energy companies. Brilliant in business and fearless during negotiations, he had one serious flaw. Success had slowly convinced him that wealth made him the smartest person in every room. Working the afternoon shift at the elegant Grand Monarch restaurant was 28-year-old waitress Victoria Bennett. Most guests remembered her warm smile and quiet professionalism. Very few knew she had spent most of her childhood living across Europe because her mother worked as a translator for international humanitarian organizations. By the time Victoria finished university, she spoke 5 languages fluently and had planned to become an international interpreter before family financial difficulties forced her to postpone that dream. That sunny afternoon, Richard hosted investors discussing a confidential merger that could reshape the clean energy industry. Believing none of the restaurant staff understood their conversation, Richard casually switched to French while making jokes about the waitress serving coffee. He commented that she probably memorized menu items but would never understand international business. His partners laughed awkwardly. Victoria simply continued placing cups on the table. Without raising her eyes, she quietly replied in perfect French. She politely corrected one of Richard's grammatical mistakes before calmly saying, "Sir, the gentleman seated behind you has understood every word of your confidential discussion." Richard's smile vanished. He slowly turned around. At the neighboring table sat a senior executive from a competing energy company. The executive smiled politely but said nothing. Richard suddenly realized that in trying to impress his colleagues, he had spoken far too freely in a public place. He immediately ended the meeting and moved everyone to a secure conference room. Later that afternoon, Richard reviewed the situation with his legal advisors. Fortunately, the nearby executive had overheard only fragments of the conversation before the meeting ended. No confidential documents had been exposed, and no legal damage occurred. But the close call shook Richard deeply. The next day, he returned to the restaurant hoping to thank the waitress who had quietly protected him from his own mistake. Victoria worried she might have offended him by correcting his language. Instead, Richard apologized sincerely. He admitted that he had judged her based solely on her uniform. Victoria smiled gently. She explained that knowledge rarely announces itself through expensive suits or impressive titles. Sometimes it wears an apron. Curious about her background, Richard learned about her multilingual upbringing and her dream of working in international negotiations. He encouraged her to apply for a position in his company's global communications division. Victoria insisted on completing the same competitive hiring process as every other candidate. After several interviews, language assessments, and negotiation exercises, she earned the position entirely on merit. Within a few years, Victoria became one of the company's most respected international communications specialists. She trained executives on cultural awareness, professional communication, and the importance of never underestimating the people around them. Richard changed as well. He became known not only for successful business deals but also for treating every employee with equal respect, from receptionists to senior executives. Whenever new managers joined the company, he often shared the story of the afternoon a waitress corrected his French and quietly saved one of the most important negotiations of his career. He always ended with the same lesson. The smartest person in the room is often the one nobody bothers to notice. Before this story comes to an end, we'd love to hear from you. Have you ever been underestimated because of your job, appearance, or background? Please leave a meaningful comment below because your story may encourage someone else to believe in themselves. As another warm afternoon sunlight filled the company's international headquarters years later, Victoria welcomed new employees from around the world while Richard watched proudly from the audience. He smiled, remembering the day he believed a waitress couldn't understand him. That moment had cost him his pride, but it gave him something far more valuable: humility, wisdom, and a lifelong reminder that respect should never depend on someone's title. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, true intelligence doesn't need to announce itself. It quietly reveals itself when the moment matters most.